Hey, good day, guys. Sitting in my backyard here today, past 31 degrees outside. But there's one thing I wanted to quickly touch base on with you. Uh, Briefly wanted to talk about Canadian load boards. I'm sure you guys all trying to figure that all out and looking that all up and everything. And you guys probably are wondering if it's worth it or not. And my honest opinion on that is they are not worth it. I'll explain to you why. First of all, there's not a lot of Canadian load boards to start with. There's maybe 4 or 5 legit ones. The rest of them are just a bunch of logistic companies, and they're not really load boards. Here's a scenario: if you run a business, logistics company, let's put it this way, you're in business for 20 years, you got so many loads, and you got some company drivers that drive for 25 bucks an hour on your trucks, you got some owner operators working for you. Tell me this, why would you post any loads online for somebody to take on? If you got your own trucks, if you got company drivers driving them, your priority will be to get these guys busy, because you'll be making the most money on your own trucks. Once your company drivers are busy, you're going to be calling owner operators that you trust, that you work with all the time, and you're going to be giving them loads. So the loads that you will be throwing publicly on load boards are going to be the loads that nobody wants to take, or like they're just cheap loads and they're not profitable. So that's where the Canadian load boards come in. Not just Canadian, any load boards. Let's specifically talk about Loadlink. I've actually signed up last week with them. I didn't pay them, I just signed up. They gave me a call. Here's how their pricing runs down. You pay $200 membership per year to them, and then they have 2 packages. The gold package is $350 a month, and then the Carrier Pro package is $550 a month. There's not a huge difference between them. I won't even get into that, because you'll be able to see the loads even with the cheaper one, which is $350 a month. But you can actually do a Loadlink demo online for free, and you can actually punch in what your origin is, where you want to travel from, and then you don't have to put where to, and it'll show you a bunch of loads. If you do that, majority of their loads are for bigger trucks, tractor trailers, just big Super Bs, everything, long haul trucks. There's barely any loads for a box truck, at least locally. There might be a few overnighters, but locally there's nothing. So I don't understand what the point is of paying $350 a month to just find maybe one load a month. Is it worth it? Probably no, because most of the loads on there, they're not priced, which means you have to give the carriers a price to take that load. And paying $350 a month sure is not worth it. And it goes for all the load boards. There's a lot of load boards online that you can just use for free. 123 load board. There's a couple different ones. Freight Finder, Direct Freight. You go on there. There's barely any freight for box trucks. Barely any loads. Barely any loads. And if there are, the prices are so dirt cheap. You'd be driving 3 days for $1,200. So you ask me, is it worth it? No, it isn't. There's no point of you signing up right now at this point to load board. How do you find loads? That's your next question, if you can't use a load board. Here's what I highly recommend. Once you finish watching this video, get online and Google up your local freight companies, logistic companies, freight forwarders, transport companies. They're all basically the same thing, they're just a different name. So search those up, start calling them up. Because if it's a mid-sized business or even a startup business, they're most likely getting super busy. They're looking for owner operators. You don't need a truck to do this. Just come up with the truck. For example, say you got a 2012 International 4300 24-foot box with a power tailgate. You call them up and say, you guys looking for owner operators? If they do, great. Find out all the information. What are they paying? Is it the same run every day, Monday to Friday. What are they paying? They might not tell you what they're paying, but if they're hiring owner operators, they should know the price of what they're paying their drivers, owner operator drivers. If you don't get any information about it, it's okay. If they're not hiring, it's okay. Just phone them all up. The ones that are hiring and you think the price is good, write their names down, company name, phone number, and everything. That way, when you actually get the truck ready to go on the road, you can phone them up and say, hey, I'm ready. I'm looking to get some loads from you guys. Freight forwarders are really good as well, because what they do is, I've used a lot of freight forwarders to bring in some material from China to Canada, and I used the freight forwarder all the way from China to my warehouse in Canada. So what they will do is, if it's not a full load from China, they'll find a space in the container or sea can. They'll put your stuff in there, and then it'll get to the port of destination, which is either Montreal or Vancouver here in Canada, or possibly in the States. And then they're not gonna bring you the whole container because you got 3 skids in there. They'll find local owner operators or transport companies, logistic companies, to throw it in a 5-ton truck and deliver it to a business or to a house. So that's more of a last mile kind of delivery, right? So contact freight forwarders, logistic companies. Another good one to contact is 3PL warehouse. If you don't know what a 3PL warehouse, look that up on Google. I'll briefly tell you what it is. A 3PL warehouse is a huge, massive warehouse where hundreds of companies store their goods. It's companies that do not want to have their own warehouse, or they're not always having the inventory to keep in their own warehouse, so they opt into shared space with 3PL warehouse. 3PL warehouse employs their own workers, and when a customer that stores material with them, they can just phone up and say, hey, I got 20 skids of stuff in there in your warehouse, but I want 6 of them delivered to this address. Can you guys arrange that? So what a 3PL warehouse does, they'll sub out, or they'll call the owner operators or transport companies, logistics. They'll phone them up. They say, we got a customer, we need 6 or 8 skids. So they'll pay you, and they'll just charge the customer that stores the goods with them. So that's how a 3PL warehouse works. Those are a bunch of things I would recommend doing, just to do research while you're waiting for your NSC number, or you're setting up your business still, which we'll get to as well. As I said, you don't need to have a truck. Just have an imaginary truck. Don't tell them you got a 2020 truck. Just a mid-range 2012, 2014, 24-footer at least, because that's usually the requirement. Just come up with the truck model and configuration and phone them all up. See if they're hiring. See what they're paying. If you don't get any information from some of them, it's okay. Move on. Nobody's promising you numbers over the phone, right? But I guarantee you, probably half of them will tell you how much they're paying their own owner operators, and they're so stupidly busy right now in transportation business that they're looking for owner operators. 9 out of 10 companies will probably are. So phone them up, get that information. And yeah, coming back to load boards, you thinking of signing one up, or it's not worth it, as I said. The only reason why I would ever get Loadlink once I get my truck on the road is, on there, all the companies list loads. You can actually get contact information. So I'll be paying Loadlink for a month or two, probably a month is even more than enough, to see who posts more loads than everybody else. Get the contact information for that company off Loadlink. Contact them directly and say, hey, I see you guys post a lot of loads on Loadlink. Why don't I work for you guys directly rather than going through Loadlink? So that's the only reason why I would ever sign up for a paid load board. Other than that, as I said, most of the load boards are for bigger trucks, long hauls. Just definitely not a box truck business, guaranteed. The other place to look for work is, which you probably have done, go on Craigslist, Kijiji, Facebook, just type in owner operators, or type in 5-ton truck and go into a jobs section. Indeed, Wild Jobs, ZipRecruiter, Workopolis, they all post owner operator jobs. Go on those websites, type in owner operators. A lot of them are going to be class 1 bigger trucks, but there's a bunch of box truck owner operators jobs. Look those up. A lot of them actually post pricing as well, so you can do the same thing. Hit them up if they have a phone number. Talk to them about working for them with the imaginary truck for now. Just get some information. You don't have to leave your information with them or nothing. Just get some pricing, see what they're paying, see what they're hiring, see if they need somebody full-time Monday to Friday, same run, which is the best ideal thing at the start, is to get same run or work for one company just to get going, get some practice on the 5-ton truck, get some cash flow. That's the most important part as well, is to find a contract that will just be Monday to Friday, 6 to 4 or 7 to 5, whatever. Monday to Friday, 8-10 hours a day, probably same run. You pick up a point A, you deliver to, I don't know, maybe 10 stops, maybe 2 stops, you never know. But most of those companies with the same run, they'll guarantee you, let's say, we'll pay you $9,000 if you do this run Monday to Friday every week. That's $9,000. That's really good because you know your expenses already, so you can actually easily plan how much money you're going to take home. So again, are load boards worth it? My recommendation, they are not. Don't waste your time on them. You can browse the free ones just to see what kind of loads they are, but there are not a lot of loads for box trucks. Waste of time and money. Don't plan on getting loads from Loadlink or 123 load board. Just anywhere load, any load boards. Don't plan on that. This is not going to be your number one source for finding loads. The number one source for finding loads is going to be transport companies, logistic companies, or even local customers. 3PL warehouses, freight forwarders. Those are going to be your number one sources of income, not load boards. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to bring that up. Hopefully that helps you guys out.